Good evening, Northern Colorado. This is Ron, K0AZA. I'm located in Fort Collins, and I'll be net control for tonight's NCARC TechNet. The purpose of the TechNet is to enlighten amateur radio operators on topics of a technical nature. We'll do our best to answer any technical questions for the benefit of all those who are listening. If there's a subject that's never been made quite clear to you, this is a great opportunity to find an answer. If anyone feels they have information that will help regarding that subject, please give your call sign and Net Control will call on you. Break for a reset. This net may be interrupted at any time for emergencies or priority traffic. If you need to use the system for an emergency during the net, say break and give your call sign. We'll acknowledge you and suspend the net until you advise that you are clear. Is there any emergency or priority traffic at this time? All licensed amateur radio operators with 70-centimeter privileges are encouraged to check into the net. NCARC club membership is encouraged but never required for participation. Check-ins are requested for the purpose of counting participation, and no checkout is required. This is K0AZA Net Control for tonight's NCARC TechNet. When checking in, please give your call sign slowly, first alphabetically, then again using the ITU phonetic alphabet, along with your name and location. When checking in, please state if you will have a topic that you would like to discuss. Check-ins will be taken in groups of 3. When I've acknowledged the first group of 3, I'll then move on to the next group of 3. I'll start by taking check-ins from call suffixes alpha through Mike. Alpha through Mike, please call now.
This is WA9FBO, Whiskey Alpha 9, Foxtrot, Bravo, Oscar, Bob, and Laporte. Good evening, Ron.
K0MLG, Kilowatt 0, Mike, Lima, Golf, Marty, Wellington.
KF0GQH, Kilo Foxtrot 0, Golf, Quebec Hotel, Kent in Wellington.
Let's pause there for a moment. Bob, I should know your call sign by now, but I'm not sure I wrote it down right. WA9FAB, is that correct? It didn't sound right.
Space Operator, SBO.
Great, thanks. So the net acknowledges WA9FBO, K0MLG, and KF0GQH. Are there other check-ins from call suffixes alpha through Mike? Kilo Foxtrot 0, Echo Bravo Sierra, Kirk in Fort Collins.
Kilo 3, Sierra Alpha Delta, George in Windsor. Kilo 3, Sierra Alpha Delta.
Whiskey Alpha 7, Echo Mike, Ed and Harry. Village KF0EBS, K3SAB, and WA7EM. Please let me know if I got any of those wrong. Otherwise, are there more check-ins, call suffixes alpha through Mike?
This is Lima Echo India, W0LEI, Chad and Stout.
This is N0EMP, Greg in Fort Collins with Debbie, K0DBE.
W0DPC, Whiskey 0, Delta Papa Charlie, Donald in Longmont.
Yeah, okay, let's hold up there for a moment. The net would like to not pull his radio off the table. We'd like to acknowledge W0LEI, N0EMP, K0DBE, and W0DTC. Any more check-ins, Alpha through Mike?
Kilo Foxtrot 0, Golf, Quebec, India, Doc and Pierce.
This is 0, Hotel Alpha Kilo, K0HAK, Dave in Fort Collins.
KD0EXV, Kilo Delta 0, Echo X-Ray Victor, Brian Greeley.
Let's hold up there. Doc, could I get the suffix on your call sign again? My brain wasn't telling my hand to write fast enough.
Kilo Foxtrot 0, Golf, Quebec, India.
Thanks. The net would like to acknowledge KF0GQY, K0HAK, and K0EXV. Are there any more check-ins, suffixes alpha through Mike? Okay, let's move on. If there's any others, we can catch you later. I'll now take check-ins in groups of 3 from call suffixes November through Zulu. November through Zulu, please call now.
This is N0 NYY, November 0, November Yankee Yankee, Art in Evans. Good evening, Ron.
This is K5SGC, Kilo 5, Sierra Golf Charlie, Dave in Fort Collins.
W5VV, Whiskey 5, Victor Victor, Bill in Livermore. Okay, let's hold up there. The net would like to acknowledge N0NYY, K5SGC, and W5VV. Any more check-ins, Mike, through November? I'm sorry, Mike, let's try that again. November through Zulu, there we go.
AE0KO, Alpha Echo 0 Kilo Oscar. It's Brad, mobile in Fort Collins.
The net acknowledges AE0KO. Are there any other check-ins? Any suffixes?
KE0RXF Mobile.
Kilo Golf 6, Oscar Bravo Charlie, Justin mobile.
Okay, the net acknowledges AE0KO, KE0BXF, and KG6OBC. Any others?
WW8L, Whiskey 8 Lima, Tim, Laurie State Park.
Okay, the net acknowledges WW8L. Let's go ahead and move on. If there are any other check-ins, we'll go ahead and take them later. Does anyone have any topics for the net tonight?
This is Delta Papa Charlie with a quick question about Wires X.
Delta Papa Charlie, go ahead with your question.
Thank you very much. I am wondering when you pull up a station connected to Wires X and you steer that station to a node on the Wires X complex, what happens to the functionality of that repeater? Do I have it tied up completely, or is the repeater still able to be used by other people while I'm steering it somewhere else? Whiskey 0, Delta Papa Charlie, back to net.
I could answer that for DMR, but not Wires X. Anybody out there with an answer?
W1VAN.
Good evening, Ivan. I'll go ahead and check you in, and yeah, go ahead with your answer.
Thanks. Good evening. This is W1VAN. The Wires X repeaters do become yours when you're steering them to another node and making contact. But yet we encourage that you do that because it raises interest in the system and promotes other people to do the same. So what we're trying to do is say, use the repeaters and steer them around, have a good time, and if you decide to just walk away from it, the repeaters will return home.
Ivan, while you have the floor, would you mind maybe just spending a little bit of time and for the benefit of those listening, and maybe tell them about the repeater network that you folks have and the different protocols that you offer?
Sure. Let me see if I answered the gentleman's question or if he has anything further.
No, that answers my question. This is Whiskey 0, Delta Papa Charlie, back to net.
Thanks, Donald. Go ahead, Ivan.
All right, over here on the Horsetooth there, we have quite the fusion network set up. And one repeater on the VHF is one that we encourage people to use and steer it around. It doesn't get a lot of use. The other one on UHF 449.9 is hooked up to a very unique system, the XLX 303 system, which you might recall XLX is part of D-Star. So we use that as a platform, and for our linking. So now we're able to take the wires X and create a wire X room. They call it room. It's the same thing as a talk group or a reflector, I guess you would call it on D-Star. It's all the same thing. It's a individualized talk group. We create a room. It's called on wires X. Let me drop a second. And then we put what they call a Brandmeister talk group into it. So that allows us to put a DMR talk group into wires X. So now we're able to link wires X and DMR. And in our software, we're able to also pull in P25, I believe D-Star spell also in there, and XDN. But anyway, and also a couple of different networks. So it's not all just Brandmeister, it's also TGIF network. We have a talk group over there too. Anyway, we bring this all together and bring it onto one of the repeaters here. So you're able to steer the repeater through these different talk groups. You can also do this on your hotspot if you do so desire. Just bring up your wires X push the wires X button there for long duration, and it will bring up wires X. And then put your search to XLX and push enter, and it will bring up all the different talk groups we have, the 3171, the 31069, all of our local talk groups, 31088, which is our technical hotspot discussions net, and several other ones. One that hooks to All-Star. It's very, very unique, kind of fun to play with, and quite the fun stuff in digital. Anybody have any questions? W1BAM.
RXF.
Go ahead, RXF.
So, Ivan, when I access XLX 303A, or I don't know what letter, but anyway, using my D-Star radio through a hotspot, like Blue DV, for instance, and I get on XLX 303 with my D-Star radio, can somebody who isn't using D-Star understand me?
Yes, on certain talk groups like 31088, which is hold on, let me bring this up on, but yes, to your question, we're able to transcode D-Star to Fusion to DMR, so we all can talk together, and that was our goal, is to bring everybody together no matter what kind of radio you had, except for analog. We haven't figured out, well, we have two. We can do All-Star into the system.
Thanks, Ivan.
Did anybody else have any questions or anything to add to this topic?
Comment.
Go ahead, comment.
K0MLJ is going to remind Ivan to talk about what he and I had talked about at 20 minutes to the hour about somebody with a DMR radio with an improper ID, K0MLG.
Go ahead, Ivan.
Okay, kind of an announcement to general. Certain somebody gotten a new, what I think, a dual band. I'm going to call it probably an HT because the signal varies a little bit. But anyway, a couple weeks ago started. And what they've done is entered their digital ID number. In other words, we can't use call signs on there because it recognizes a number. So we register our call sign, which gives us a digital ID number, which we put onto our other radios. Well, this certain individual has a, what I think probably a new radio, and he's entered the talk group that he was trying to connect to, so, or possibly the repeater that he was trying to connect to, instead of the personal ID number. And then he's trying to communicate out. He has everything correct in his programming except for his digital ID number. So when he transmits into the repeater up here, it doesn't know what to do with it because its radio number is being blocked. So it's not getting functioned into the system to where everybody can hear him. It's just, and I didn't want that person to think that we don't want to talk to him. It's that we can't hear you because you have an incorrect number in your radio, W1BAN.
So presumably until he either fixes it or comes on an analog repeater and figures out what he's doing wrong, he's kind of stuck. Is that correct?
Kind of stuck as to, unless I'm able to catch him when he keys up on that repeater, I could probably hear him on the repeater only. And I would have to be on that time slot listening to that talk group. So there has to be a few functions that has to be true to make that happen. So not always hear him, no. But I see him on the logs as to where he's trying, and probably long enough to throw his call sign out there, ask maybe something, 6 or 7 seconds is enough to throw your call sign and maybe ask, is anybody hearing me?
Yeah, interesting. Okay, well, thank you, Ivan. This is K0AZA, Net Control for the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club Weekly TechNet. Did anyone have anything else to add to this topic or any more questions about Wires X, D-Star, etc.? Hearing nothing, let's move on. Are there any other topics to bring to the group tonight?
LEI.
YDN.
We got LEI first and then YDN. Go ahead, Chad.
Okay, this is more just a comment. I, after 60-some years, finally got a linear, and I was uncomfortable with my skill level or whatever to get it tuned up correctly or where I felt was correct. And I'm going to let this drop. And basically what I did was I went on the internet and downloaded several manuals of like equipment and read the tuning sections on each and was able to put together a viable tuning process that I'm comfortable with. But my point is that, if you're lost with your manual for your equipment, look at other equipment and maybe you'll be able to get an insight there. Back to Ned.
Good morning, Mike.
Go ahead, Mark.
I would also add that is an ideal type of situation to bring up on the TechNet or on the repeater any other day, because it's a good thing. You've not been in something you haven't experienced before, but there are people on here that have, almost always. Now, I wouldn't want to wait a week. If that happened to me on Tuesday, I would not wait until the next Monday to find a solution. But it's a great thing to bring up on the TechNet so that everyone can find out. I bow to the 60 years. I have half of that, but there's an awful lot of stuff that I haven't played with yet, and I would never hesitate to bring it up on the TechNet because I know there's people here that have done an awful lot of that kind of stuff. And zero in my way.
Yeah, roger that. I was contemplating it, but I really wasn't sure how to phrase the issue I was having. LEI, back to Ned.
Katie02YU with a comment.
Go ahead, Joe.
I've blown up so many I learned. What they tell you in the manual, especially if it's an Ameritron, and even on the websites, as in YouTube and things like that, are wrong. The reason I'm saying that is they tell you to key it up for 2 or 3 seconds and do that. Don't do that. I learned from the best. That's Radio Dan. And you get yourself a keyer and you just tap it, and then you adjust it that way using basically the manual, the numbers that they give you for it. But be really careful by holding that thing down, because unless it's a solid state, you will blow up the tubes. I know for a fact.
Yeah, that's good advice, Joe. Thank you. Anybody else have anything to add to this topic?
W1VAN.
Go ahead, Ivan.
Well, you know, you could always do like I do. I was up at the repeater site yesterday, and the Argus battery supply power charger that charges the batteries for the DMR repeater, backup power there, anyway, had broken one of the wires off and was showing a fault. So I got her figured out and was getting ready to put it back together. But what the riddle is here, I rubbed the wires together until I gave a good spark. W1VAN.
Thanks, Ivan. Anybody else? Hearing nothing, let's move on. YDN, the floor is yours.
KB0YDN here. Late check-in and traffic. There is a radio antenna mast, an unused one, at First Street in Taft in Loveland. And it can be seen all over town. I've talked to the guy several years back who owns it, and he thought he had the world's greatest cell phone tower. It's a 400-plus foot, 408 foot, I think, AM tower. I don't know if the ground plane copper is still there or not. The spark gap at the bottom has the balls touching together so that it could be used as a normal mast for some UHF repeaters. But the important thing, at least in my mind, is that the lot and maybe the antenna with it are for sale. I don't know if there's going to be a plan to demolish the antenna, or whether he's going to sell it with the lot and the antenna together, or what. But I thought that might be interesting for either a club or a well-to-do individual who likes to play with long wave to play with. Maybe a little idea.
Yeah, we could take up a collection. Anybody else have anything to add to that topic?
Idea and additional comments.
Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
My idea was to reconstitute the thing for AM use by getting a professional tower guy out to look at the safety of the thing, pull the spark gaps apart, and use it on 160 meters. But at relatively sane rent rates, but the guy wasn't interested in any small potatoes stuff. He thought he had the greatest thing in the world. He doesn't realize quite how specialized it is.
Interesting. So, anybody else have anything on this? Okay, this is K0AZA, net control for the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club, weekly TechNet. Any other topics for tonight?
W1VAN.
Go ahead, Ivan.
I don't know if anybody's interested in All-Star. I kind of picked up a new niche here lately and have a kind of a wide area node set up if anybody was interested in learning how to do All-Star and how to steer a node around. Be willing to give instructions or teach somebody how to do it with my equipment that's probably accessible to most everybody. Yeah, give me a call, W1VAN.
Ivan, if someone wanted to get a hold of you the old school way, is your contact information on QRZ, correct?
That would probably be either that or on the radios. Of course, I'm always around, mostly on the digital there, but occasionally here. that would be the easiest way. That way, I'd give you the frequency and the tone and such to get it, and the sheet on how to steer it, and then we can meet up and perhaps talk about it and make sure that you understand how to link the nodes together.
SAD question.
Go ahead with your question.
Is 31088 like the standard where people find you digitally?
Digitally, that's one of our talk groups, of course. 310869 is our talk group here locally.
I'll try that out. Thank you. Back to that.
Any other questions or comments on that? Are there any late check-ins, additional comments, questions, or other discussion before we close the net this evening?
M0AMP with a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, if Joe KG0TYU is still in here, I think the second half of the tech class and the test session was 2 days ago. I was wondering how that went in 0EMP.
Yes, sir, it was. Everybody but one passed. Got a couple generals out of the thing, too, which kind of surprised me, but had a pretty good bunch. We had, I think, 14, maybe 15 the second day, and we did a few people who kind of walked in and did some testing on that. Yeah, it went really, really well. Hopefully in the spring we'll probably have a general class, because that was kind of asked for, and I guess the last one went really well. So thanks for thinking of us.
Thanks, Joe, and 0EMP.
That's great. We should be hearing some new voices on the air. Any other late check-ins, comments, questions, or other discussion?
SAD question.
Go ahead, George.
So I have a magnet mount antenna on my work truck, and so whenever I pass through the car wash, as I'm off to do, I rip it off, throw it in the back seat. How much can I push that, and how does it still work halfway decently without the, I'm assuming it's capacitive coupling through the magnet into the roof of the vehicle? So when it's floating around on top of a coat in the back seat, how much is that hurting me long term? Just curious.
And 0EMP.
I was hoping you'd reply, Greg. Go ahead.
Yeah, my only concern would be your SWR might be through the roof, or at least outside the range that the radio likes. As far as quote unquote hurting yourself long term, that would be my only concern would be SWR. So you can measure that. Modern radios are supposed to protect themselves from high SWR, but any safety mechanism can fail. So you might check, see what your SWR does when that antenna's sitting on a jacket on the back seat in 0EMP.
George, if you have a nano VNA, it would be interesting to throw it on the back seat and hook a nano VNA up to it and see what it looks like.
I'd be interested in performing that experiment if somebody else is willing. I don't have that. All I have is a CB SWR meter, which I think it's telling me the truth, sort of, as long as I don't push my luck.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of my MFJ SWR meter. Yeah, I've got a nano VNA. If we wanted to connect sometime, I'd be happy to loan it to you.
Might be a good thing for post-lunch one of these days. That'd be handy for me. Back to net.
Give me a good reason to get out of my office and go to one of those lunches. Any other late check-ins, comments, questions, or other discussion? Hearing none, this concludes the NCARC TechNet. Net Control would like to thank each station for their participation. We had a total of 25 check-ins tonight. This net will occur again next Monday at the same time on this repeater. This is K0AZA, closing the net at 1840 and returning the repeater to normal operation. 73, and good night, everyone.
This presentation was brought to you by the Northern Colorado Amateur Radio Club. For more information, visit our website, ncarc.net. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.